Welcome to the Future of Productivity for Government Infoblast. These Infoblasts are a series of short videos that share high-level overviews of Microsoft's latest products that drive increased productivity by both the IT staff and end users in government organizations. In this session, we're concentrating on features available in Windows 7 Enterprise Edition. I'm your host, Phil West. Let's get started. So what's all the fuss about Windows 7? Most of us have probably seen Windows 7. You've seen an advertisement, maybe on TV or in a magazine. Maybe you've seen a demonstration. Most of us have probably seen features that are focused on Windows 7 for the home and consumer market. But today we're going to talk about the Enterprise Edition of Windows 7. From a user's perspective, Windows 7 Enterprise has actually been made to be easier and simpler to work with, doing more with less clicks, for example. It's faster in terms of boot up, set, sleep, and resume times. It has location-aware printing capabilities, so it knows when you're at home versus when you're at work, where should your default printer be, for example. It has corporate class search capabilities, the ability for you to team up with your IT organization to create that one-stop shop for all your search needs. It has faster wireless setup and connection times. It has a function called Problem Step Recorder we're going to go into. It also has native support for multi-touch hardware. That's everything from a tablet or slate PC to a desktop to a large wall-mounted screen that's connected to a Windows 7 machine that allows for direct manipulation of assets right there on the screen using your fingers. From an IT person's point of view, we added new features like Direct Access, App Locker, BitLocker to go, and Problem Step Recorder, and many more. And by the way, the ones that are actually in bold, we're going to go into in just a little more detail. From an enterprise search capability, most users, when they're trying to search for something, they might have to actually look for multiple repositories, both their PC, maybe an Outlook, maybe in a SharePoint site, maybe there's an internal portal they have to go to, maybe there's a multitude of those, maybe some are known, some are not known, maybe I have to go out to the internet. So one of the things we did in Windows 7 is to create what we call search federations, the ability for our IT staff to say, okay, when I search for something, here's the way that I want search to work inside my organization. And I also want to add, for example, here's a snippet of my screen that comes up on my search. Inside of Microsoft, if I don't find it, let's say specifically in a certain location, I have the ability to search our intranet site, our IT website, for example, as well as jumping out to the internet and searching something like Bing to go grab it. So it allows for me to have a single interface, that single window that allows for me to do my searches in a one-stop shop fashion. In terms of remote access, and I'm a remote user, I can tell you that remote access has been a pain in most people's site because of the amount of time it takes to set up from an IT perspective and the maintenance side of that, and as well as from a user's perspective, you got to remember to fire up the VPN client. You have to remember to go through some of the steps, remembering if I need to get access to something inside the network, I have to go jump on something and get a VPN client so I can make that connection. I might only need it for 1 or 2 or 3 clicks and then it's gone. The idea is we want to try to make the user more productive, make the IT staff more productive, and so cleaning up that VPN linkage was a top priority for us. So with Windows 7, we have a solution called Direct Access. And Direct Access actually marries Windows 7, and as you can see in the bottom right, Windows Server 2008 R2, in terms of how it would marry those and creating a gateway into the network, into the intranet, into your corporate network. So Windows 7, along with Windows Server 2008 R2, actually bridge that internet connection by creating a separate, secure VPN for you, but it's done via group policies. It's done kind of in an automatic fashion. The machine comes on, it creates the VPN, it gets any of the updates it needs, it verifies its security, it does all of that, and then when the user needs to access the machine, they actually have a separate usage tunnel that they're going to be pulling data from, and that can be secured in whatever manner is necessary for your IT organization. But the idea behind it is this is something that's actually useful and transparent to the user rather than being something that's yet another cumbersome step they have to run through. From a data protection perspective, all of us hear about laptops that go missing, records that go missing. It makes the news, but it never makes the news when you have averted some of those problems. So we want to help you stay out of the news by averting the issues of a lost laptop and lost records. Well, we can't help you in keeping you from losing your laptop, but we can help you from losing access to the records that were on the laptop. In Windows Vista, we added a function called BitLocker. In Windows 7, we've actually expanded BitLocker to include not only encrypting the hard drive that is inside of a machine or inside of a laptop, let's say, but also any removable drives that go along with that. Now, just like we did in BitLocker, we can actually have this information so that we can have the IT staff house this information in terms of the recovery keys and the passwords inside of Active Directory. So you have a backup scenario where the data is being stored in terms of what the keys are, but then you start looking at how the laptops and the USB devices interact, and now you have the capability of creating a device like a USB thumb drive that if you were to lose it would be unusable to anybody who finds it. So any of that data that you're actually storing on a removable drive, when it's sensitive data, you have the ability to make sure that that data is being encrypted as it goes out into that little thumb drive, which is so easy to drop out of your pocket or out of your briefcase or whatever. So this gives you the ability to kind of create that extra layer of protection, not only for the laptop and the laptop hard drives that are inside of it, but also any removable drives that go along with your agency users. Today, in terms of application control, we have a lot of applications out there that we try to control with software policies, for example, inside of Active Directory. And that can actually become cumbersome, not only from the user's perspective, but also from the IT perspective. It's really hard today. It's, really savvy users can try to work their way around some of those issues. And the problem comes in is that sometimes you have to make sure that users have what they need to do their job, but in a fashion that you can help control and maintain. And so what we've added is something called App Locker. App Locker gives me the ability to actually maintain control over applications that are run on a desktop, not only by the name of the application, but also by the hash value, for example, a fingerprint, if you will, of the application, how the application's been stored and installed, or who the publisher of the application was, what the version is of that application, so I can relegate usage that it must be a certain level version to run, or you can't run the latest version until it's been tested. There's a number of permutations you can think about there, but this gives you the ability to create easily and to be flexible in terms of your management of how those group policies are rolled out. And App Locker actually gives you a nice user interface to create those in a very meaningful way. Problem Step Recorder is one of those features that I told you I was going to tell you about. It's actually from a customer point of view, a user's point of view, and an IT administrator's point of view. You ever had a problem where you call the IT staff and when they look at the problem or they try to reproduce it, it never happens the way you're explaining it? You see a problem, you see something that blows up when you try to run it, but when the IT guy gets there, everything works normally. That's frustrating for you, but understand, it's also frustrating for the IT guy. So let's try to figure out a way. And so we actually embedded inside of Windows 7 Enterprise basically a little DVR. It's the ability for you to turn on something called Problem Step Recorder. It allows you to go in and basically record screen images, user clicks, user input, have all that information so that as you're seeing, for example, I know that on a specific time or a specific date or on a specific set of variables, this action always fails. Let me go in and turn on this Problem Step Recorder, go through all those steps, and lo and behold, it fails. And now I can stop the recording. It actually creates a little zip file that goes on my desktop, and I can add comments to that, or I can make specifics, rename it, or whatever, and then I can actually email it to the support staff and say, here's when it breaks. Here's what happens when I do this, and here's how it breaks. So this actually saves time and effort on the user's side of the world and on the IT administrator's side of the world. So I want to thank you for your time today. We've talked about a few of the new features and functions around Windows 7 Enterprise. If you have any other questions, you need any other information, Please feel free to visit our Microsoft.com/government/Windows 7 website and get more information about this. And again, as always, thank you for using Microsoft.